I think they will, and I think they'll have a relatively positive impact on price, but again, because the PBMs will be involved in negotiations, and since they're follow-ons, they're not technically a generic. There's not an automatic substitution rule, but that could vary between state to state, since some states will allow substitution if it's interchangeable without notifying the physician or practitioner that wrote the prescription by the pharmacy, and that creates a mail order issue where it could show up in a patient's doorstep with a letter inside it saying your product has been substituted for this product. Your physician has been notified. If you have any questions, call 1-800 such and such. And that's all they're required to do. But the diabetes patient, and now that we have multiple variances of unit strengths, such as Toujeo 100 units versus 200 units, it's much cheaper to use a 200 unit per 100 unit dose. If they substitute that and the patient doesn't understand they have to give half the dose, there's going to be dosing errors. And we standardized 100 units per milliliter a long time ago because there were dosing errors based on 30, 50, and 100 unit dose vials. And we had syringes specifically made for each strength. And we had a lot of patients end up overdosing on insulin by getting the 100 units instead. That could very easily happen in this scenario. And then you have to worry about the quality of the biosimilars and follow-ons too, because we've seen in generic products that are made in other countries, the quality sometimes is excellent, sometimes the quality is not. And the FDA never does a inspection on the quality directly of the drug itself. They don't pull a sample from the pipeline and do analytical work on it, ever, after it's approved. The only reason they look into is a certain number of people die or get very sick in a very short period of time. Then they start digging into why. So I believe we should have an ongoing prospective review of drugs where we pull some out of the pharmaceutical supply line, either from the pharmacy directly or from the wholesaler, at random fashion, and run an analytical review of that through a qualified laboratory and compare that to what's expected to be found. If it doesn't match, we get old manufacturer and say, hey, what's up with this? Is this lot potentially bad? If they know you're looking at them, they'll be a little more careful. But since nobody's looking, there's no reason to be all that careful. Ethical companies will be. Those that are not so much will not be, because they have to keep their doors open at the low price that they're forced to sell it at. And we've seen that happen in overseas manufacturers. The price is too low, and even at their lower labor rates, they can't really keep it open, so they cheat. And eventually when you cheat, somebody gets hurt, and I don't want my patients or myself to get hurt.